You're listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we have an amazing show lined up for y'all today. We're going to talk to our special guest for today, Dr. Norma Hollis. She is on her fourth business in the professional development industry. She's doing amazing things. Today's topic is going to be all about being your authentic self, authentic life, authentic voice. Authenticity is what we're going to be talking about today. You can visit her website, normahollis.com. We're going to learn a little bit about her story. She's been doing some amazing things, helping a lot of people, including early childhood assessment process that has been impacting a lot of lives throughout Detroit, Southfield, and Cleveland. So we're going to learn a little bit about all the amazing things she's done with that. But first and foremost, I want to welcome Dr. Norma to the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, Shamaya. So nice to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your time. So for our audience, kind of give us a little bit of your story. Give us a background. What did you do that got you to where you are today?
Well, I was kind of born knowing I had something important to do. Many of us know we have a purpose, but finding your purpose is a whole other issue. So at 28, my journey to purpose really began when I realized I had done everything my parents had said to do. I had a husband with a good job. We had cars, money in the bank, house, all the material things that they say would make you happy. And I was miserable. And I didn't know what to do with myself, and I didn't know who I was. So I decided to just take time out of life and figure out who am I. Little did I know it would take 30 years. But I researched human nature from personal, professional, and spiritual perspectives and came up with what I call my authenticity grid, which you'll see when you go to my website. And the grid, what I found out at that young age of 28 is that I had three voices in me. I had an inner voice that no one heard but me. I had an outer voice, which is how people perceived me when they saw me. They didn't have a clue what I was about, but they make an assumption. We all do that based on how I looked. And then the third voice is an expressive voice, which is who I have become in the world and how I live my life on a day-to-day basis. And that over the next 30 years, just kind of evolved into my authenticity grid. At 28, when I did this and I recognized those 9 energies living in me, I gave each one the name of an animal, because animals, you kind of know the difference of an owl animal versus a jaguar versus an elephant. These are all different energies versus a butterfly, the delicacy, the strength, the different pieces of the different animals. And so it was easy to give myself a name based on the animals. And then the grid actually was designed based on, I did some astrology, some astronomy, some archaeology, some numerology. I used a lot of esoteric energy fields and information to put together my grid. And again, it took 30 years. Then it took me 12 more years to figure out, well, what did I create? It was actually, I say, channeled through me, because I was kind of guided from my voice, from my inner voice. And I just followed it all these years. And so where it's led me now is that I now have a program where I certify coaches, speakers, teachers, leaders, entrepreneurs, and change agents to have a system for being true to yourself. What I realized along the journey is that as a society, we don't teach people who we are. We teach people how to read and write so we can employ them to make more money for the corporations to maintain society. And I guess from a society perspective, if we all decide to be authentic, we would not necessarily follow the path of corporate America that so many of us are blindly led to. But what I found is that since the timing is just so perfect, because with COVID coming up recently, people have stopped to pause and say, well, what the heck am I doing with my life? Why am I rushing to work every day? Why am I going through the stress of people I don't like to be with and spending time with them and coming home with a headache? Can't really be pleasant to my kids. Don't have time to cook a decent meal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because people would step out of that, as they have. I don't know if you know, but the statistics say that over 4 million people are leaving full-time jobs every single month. And that's been going on since COVID. So they're not just dropping out. They may be going to an entrepreneurial work. They may just be changing jobs. but they really are reevaluating their own authenticity. They don't use those words, but then maybe they do, because a brand new word in the business world is workplace authenticity. So workplace authenticity is really what I have been leading towards, because I have people who are certified through my process, and we're ready to jump into the workplace authenticity game. We have a whole system and people trained and research done and all of that. So, part of my story really is the value of listening to your inner voice and allowing it to lead you and guide you through your life. Because who knows, 30, 40 years later, and that's a long time by some perspectives, but that's really when you settle into what life's about. And it's a lot more joyful than the stress you had in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. But it's a great time. I feel very happy about listening to my voice and being able to share with people that is a way you can live your life and have great satisfaction.
Once again, listen to Refocused Radio, talking to our guest today, Dr. Norma Hollis. And speaking of being authentic, know thyself, right? It's interesting you made that point with the pandemic and people leaving. There's also a survey, I can't remember which one, but it was also a survey showing that 80% or some change of workers who decided to leave had some regrets. So there's also a percentage of people who still weren't finding their true self, because one day, I want to be an entrepreneur, but then you find out you got to wear so many hats and you're going to be responsible for everything. You don't have a whole team, with you, when you start out. So it's that sweet balance. You still got to know who you are as a person. You can't just jump the gun, so to speak.
Right. And, that's even more important given the way the world is going right now. So, and you're absolutely right. It is not easy. I wasn't familiar with the statistics of the people who regretted it. I'll have to look that up and do some research on that. But you're absolutely right that there is nothing that's easy. Nothing. Because even people born with a silver spoon don't get a chance to really be themselves, because they don't even understand what true life is about, because they have it so easy financially, but they may not have it easy in other ways. But it is important, because the way the world is going, we're having changes that are going in two directions. In one direction, society's change is moving us towards AI and artificial intelligence. That's what that is, of course, and the loss of many jobs, because AI is taking the place of intelligence. Our phones have taken the place of intelligence, because we don't even remember any phone numbers. And maybe your generation didn't have to, but my generation, you had to memorize phone numbers, know to where you're going, directions. Now you can just push a button and click something, and it tells you when to turn right, when to turn left. It tells you who's calling. You can answer or not. I mean, you don't have to think in the same way we did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So it's changing society a lot. So the robot, transhumanism, biotech, is one direction society is going, and that asks the question of what happens to humans. And the other way society is going is the human evolution part, and that's the part where the next frontier is consciousness. So the intellect, we have studied, researched, reproduced, created, etc., of a lot, and that's seen in the artificial intelligence. But consciousness, what we think, how we think, our levels of understanding, our vibration, that's the new frontier that they're going to spend the next probably 1,000 years or so trying to understand and trying to duplicate. I even heard about a executive level conversation that took place 20 to 30 years ago among executives of a major phone company. And the big question they were asking is, how will we earn income when society changes and telepathy, mental telepathy, consciousness is how people communicate. So there seems to be some known factor there somewhere of where the planet is going, and some efforts to support the growth and some efforts to withhold the growth. But you can't stop either one of them. And we have to learn how to live cooperatively among them. And I say that also to say that one of the greatest things you can do for yourself as a young person is to know yourself and know your gifts and talents, because that's the part of you that's not like anybody else. And if you want to stand out in the new world as we're moving these two directions, it's going to be based on your gifts and talents. What makes you unique? What makes you different? And how do you choose to develop that and to use that in the world?
And everything you just said about the whole AI technology, and, we have the luxury, the younger adults. All of us, all ages have the luxury in today's world of having a GPS telling us how we can get to point A to point B. And
Yep.
I did a quick type fast. I want to make sure I got my stats source, and with the help of typing on the computer, I found out. It was from an article from CNBC. It was a stat from paychecks. They were talking about the Gen Zers were the mostly ones that were regretting quitting their job and kind of probably rushed it. That's probably my personal opinion. I think sometimes we can rush, our decisions, and maybe they weren't just fully prepared financially to be their own boss. And it's like you said earlier, it's not an easy task. You got to have a game plan and a backup plan if, plan A doesn't work. So speaking of that, though, young people who aspire to be an entrepreneur or they aspire to do certain things that require certain leadership. Since we're talking about being authentic, how important is it to have those skill sets before you just start trying to do, big major things?
It is, in my perspective, critical, because when you don't know where to go, when you know it's not working and you don't know how to make it work, and you don't know who to go to help you make it work, you can always go inside. Because if you create a relationship with that inner voice, with the connection you have with how you got here, with the connection to your purpose, and you know how to communicate with that connection, you always have direction. So because the direction you're going to get in society is going to be geared toward either the needs of society or the perspective of the person giving you the advice, generally. And I'm not surprised that Gen Zs are flocking back to the work environment, because when you're young, when you are under 30 particularly, you do have a lot of starry eyes, and in some ways under 40. And because you have your life perspective has been a lot of the perspective from the view of the people who raised you. And now in your 20s, you're doing so much transition to figure out, well, their values don't meet my values. What are my values? And I need everything to purchase. And how do I start with the job that only pays me minimum wage or something very minuscule? So your focus is different. I remember when I met a grandnephew of mine that I just met, and he had emancipated at the age of 16. He had gotten a contract with a music studio at a very early age. Didn't really pan out. But when I met him at 19, he was excited about how he was going to be a millionaire in 6 months. And I didn't try real hard because I didn't want to burst his bubble, but I tried to give him a sense of reality, because there are so many obstacles that are put in your way, some by society, some by your competition, and some you do to yourself without even realizing it sometimes. And you don't know what you don't know. So it's a hard journey to really step out there independent. I advise it and encourage you to do it no matter what. When I did it, I moved from being the director of nonprofit Head Start programs, which were funded by the federal government. All I had to do was write a proposal, and my refunding was almost guaranteed, to an entrepreneur, didn't know what it meant to have a balance sheet and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I just thought that since I knew how to manage Head Start people well, that I could manage a business well. Well, it took me a long time to realize huge, huge difference in how much I didn't know. And I've been in business now for almost 30 years. And I'm just now getting to the point that I really know what I'm doing, and I really know how to do it, and I really know how to project what my income would be. Everything else beforehand, even though this is my fourth business, I was just trying to figure it out. Because I didn't go to MBA school. I'm the kind of person that likes to learn on the job, to learn through experience. I don't want to be influenced in some ways by traditional ways of thinking, because my role on the planet is to bring new ways of thinking. And it's hard to do that when you have to unthink what you were taught that you really didn't, it's not going to serve me. So that's my situation. That's my authentic path. Everybody's path is different. But so you have to know yourself, and no one teaches you self-awareness. No one teaches you who you are. They just teach you how to be employed, pretty much, or how to be the person that they think. And the other thing I just want to bring in is that nobody can predict what the world's going to be like in 20 to 30 years. That's when your career really takes hold, when you really kind of know what you're doing, it's making sense. When you're younger, you're 20 to 30s, you're in your career, yes, but there's a lot you don't understand and a lot you have to experience before you really can grasp what it means and grasp how to deal with it. So you're very much a neophyte trying to figure your way through. But as you get older, it makes more sense. And as you get older, if you look at your path really speaks to you about what your purpose is. Because the jobs you take, the ones you're accepted for, if you look at how the universe is intertwining with your day-to-day thoughts, you can see it in hindsight. But it takes place every day. And the more you connect with that as a partnership, the more effective and the greater ease your life will be.
And speaking of connection, you on your website, you can go to normahollis.com, and you have authenticity for individuals and also for the workplace. If you don't mind, kind of explain the difference between the workplace and the individual authenticity and how you explore that.
Well, for the individual, it's important that you know yourself. It's important that you understand your gifts and talents, your strengths, your vulnerabilities, those will lead you to know your purpose. The happiest people that I've met in my lifetime are the people who are clear on their purpose and they're doing their work in the area of their purpose. That's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. They're not an entrepreneur just because they want to make money. They're an entrepreneur because what they are here on the planet to do doesn't fit anyplace else. And so therefore, you kind of have to do it yourself, or you're what we call psychologically unemployable by a corporation or a company because you have too many of your own ideas. You're a maverick. So the individual is the foundation of anything that you undertake. If you're starting a business, your business is a shadow of the leader. So you want to be the strongest, most confident, direct, clear, a leader with clarity. You're not giving mixed messages or confusion to your people that are working with you. Now, corporations are made up of individuals. And if individuals don't know themselves, the corporation has greater challenges. I want to just go back a minute and say that what I deal with a lot is human energy. And if you think about it, we don't learn about human energy. We only hear about energy or the human spirit during times of the Olympics. But it's human energy means our spirit, how our spirit expresses itself on the planet, how you allow it, how you don't allow it, et cetera. So what the corporate authenticity, and now just in the last few weeks, I've seen a brand new term on LinkedIn, and it's called workplace authenticity. They had the term authentic leadership a few years ago, and now that's evolved to the awareness that if the whole organization is not functioning at a level of authenticity, then the organization is dysfunctional. You've shown a speaker bureau. I was the first Black woman on a speaker bureau for Black speakers. And one of the things that struck me was how many people came to me saying, Norma, I need your help. I've been working this job for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it was, and I've lost myself because I had to be who the corporation wanted me to be. And as a result, that culture was not me. I had to be someone else, and now I don't know who I am. Well, workplace authenticity means all the employees at your organization, at the company, are able to express themselves and be themselves at work. Granted, we have to make some concessions because we're in an organization around other people, but the core of who you are is your own authenticity. And the happiest life you can have is to live your life in authenticity. So why shouldn't corporations be able to be authentic, be able to allow the employees to work in an area that's mostly aligned with their gifts and talents, and to have coworkers who are aligned with them? Now we're starting to go into corporate America and start to open these doors. For example, we have a gifts and talents inventory that we give, and we want to go into colleges with this too, because imagine a college student early in their freshman year understanding more about themselves, being comfortable, not being comfortable with their parents' goal for where their parents think they should be in 10, 20 years, when they don't even know what the world's going to be like in 10 or 20 years. But imagine that opportunity to really step into yourself, to go to a job that's meaningful to you. It's not just a place to get a paycheck. but it's a place to be around people that you enjoy being around, doing something that you enjoy doing, and having it be aligned with your feeling of why you're here on the planet. That's what workplace authenticity is about. It's about connecting people with a more authentic way to share their voice, to be their authentic selves, and to live an authentic life.
Once again, listen to Refocused Radio, talking to our guest today, Dr. Norma Hollis. And I like what you just touched on recently about the point being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I think that is something, man, if they would have taught that at a very younger age, I think more people will have an easier process of being authentic. Because I think the biggest, well, not me, but personally speaking, is I think when you are not in that space where you're uncomfortable enough, then you're always on your toes and you're your biggest hurdle. Like no one else is stopping you, it's you. Because the biggest monster in the room is the person that is being self-conscious and, worried about things that don't need to be worried about. Touch on that, because how can we learn how to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations?
Well, it's only going to work well for you if you know who you are. Because if you're comfortable in uncomfortable situations because you're adapting to that situation and getting rid of some of your own authenticity, that's not going to work. That's one of the people that came to me after 10, 20, 40 years and saying, I lost myself. You don't want to ever lose yourself. But how do you know who yourself is if you don't find that person? How do you know you've lost it if you don't know really who it is? We come into the world and we adapt the perspectives of life given to us by the people that raised us. And then life puts you sometimes on a path you don't even take time to figure out maybe what you don't know or what you need to know or what's going on or what adjustments you need. You're just going through life, going through the motions. People get up, do the same thing, follow the same path, go back to work, hate it, but they keep doing it and they don't stop because society will have you get so in debt in your 20s that you have no choice. So the lesson I'm trying to teach to people is to teach it early enough so that as you enter your 20s, you don't do those things that tie you to dollars the rest of your life, like having babies early or getting a mortgage early before you're really clear on how you're going to be handling your life. All those things are commitments that tie you up for years and years and years, and then you don't have time. And then the other thing we don't take time for is to just reflect. Just take some time and think about the day. We get off work, we get in our cars, the radio goes on, and we're singing and forgetting, but we're not thinking and reflecting. A lot of the work I do with people is giving you a guided way to reflect on what just happened and giving you a way to look at yourself that allows you to see yourself in a different way so you can put in perspective the things that happen and figure out the best way for you to deal with it. Not what somebody else says, but what works best for you. We do what works best for others or what society says without necessarily taking time to figure out what's best for us. That's what the value is of authenticity, that you have a life that's more crafted to who you truly are, not crafted to just what society wants you to be or what your parents want you to be.
With your program that you have, you mentioned earlier in the show that you offer certification programs. Can you explain that to the audience a little bit? What are some of the requirements of each applicant that wants to be a part of this program and what they should know before they start the process?
Well, there's two levels of programs that we do. One level of program is for people that just strictly want to be better at being themselves. And that is an 11-week program. They're certified as an advocate of authenticity because you've had a chance to explore yourself over 11 weeks in a small group and really get more clarity about who you are and what you're here to do. Now, for those that want to go further, especially the speakers, trainers, coaches, leaders, change agents, and other people that want to make a difference in the world, I certify them as an authenticity coach, an authenticity speaker, or an authenticity facilitator. An authenticity coach is someone already certified as a coach, a life coach, leadership, executive, health, wellness, relationship, whatever. And they want an extra certification A lot of coaches get lots of certifications, which gives you lots of options of what you're going to use when you go into your programs. That's one certification. The authentic speaker certification is for speakers who are great on stage, but they may not have enough content and they may not have products to sell on stage. One way that speakers make their income is they speak on stage and they sell from the stage. Most of us have been to something where someone does that. So the ability of your sharing the message and your ability to sell it is where you get your income. And a lot of speakers have the skill on stage, but not the product. So we're also looking to certify speakers in my authenticity process that can go to corporations and organizations and share the information and get paid a commission for making sales on stage. And the third one is the facilitator. That person is certified both as a coach and as a speaker, but they're also certified to be one of our trainers. We're just starting the process of going into corporations and into universities to teach authenticity, and that's workplace authenticity, and for the schools to teach it to especially the freshman students, actually all the students, but especially freshmen, so they can get some more clarity on who they are as they're leaving their parents' home and entering a brand new society before they get into the bigger society. So the facilitators are the ones that we will be using to go into corporations. When we're seeking 4-year contracts with corporations to take 4 years, 3 to 4 years to help build a workplace authenticity environment that allows people to be authentic, that just changes the energy. It will involve the diversity to some extent. It involves understanding each other. It involves building teams, creating more engagement, and doing better with retention. Because when people work someplace where they're appreciated and they're having fun and enjoy each other, they're going to stay. So those are the certifications. All the certifications require the 11-week prerequisite class. And some of the certifications take 6 months to a year to complete. It's very thorough. I teach people to certify others. We're growing fast now, so I'm actively looking for people who are interested in being certified. So qualifications, again, for coaches is you're already certified as a coach, life, relationship, leadership, health, any of those helping professions, not the technical ones, but more the soft skills. Speakers who are good on stage and need to have more product and content, and then facilitators who want to be part of a team of people to make a difference in corporations. And all of this is growing very rapidly. So we're rapidly seeking, starting new classes and what have you. If anyone's interested in certification, it's a special invitation to set up a call with me by going to meetwithnorma.com, meetwithnorma.com. And I'd be happy to talk to you about your qualifications, what we offer, and how we can have a partnership and get together and make this a reality for both of us.
So an individual who's listening to this right now, maybe it's someone we just talked about moments ago, they're professional and they're ready to go to jump into a specified certification program. Say there's a young person listening to this and they're like, okay, man, I'm just a college student or I'm a high school student or wherever they might be. What's that first step that they can do to, you kind of touched the element throughout the whole show, but what's one step that they can do to position themselves, to know themselves better and gain that knowledge with the resources that you have on your website?
Well, I would definitely encourage you to go to giftfromnorma.com. I have a gift for you, and the gift is an invitation to join us on Tuesday nights. Every Tuesday at 5:00 Pacific time, we have a free event. We go through the authenticity grid, which I kind of referred to. You can't see it yet, but on my website, you'll see it and you'll learn about it on the calls. And we have speakers come in and we spend 4 weeks on each dimension. We're just starting now to talk about legacy, which is your gifts and talents, not what you leave to the planet, but what was given to you at the time of your birth and how you're going to use it on the planet. That's especially important for young people, for college students, for high school students to understand your gifts and talents. You're taught to read, you're taught to write. One of the things they don't teach enough at in school, what I'm hearing about, is they don't teach enough critical thinking. So you've got the different talents and skills, but the critical thinking is how do you use them? How do you apply them? How do you expand them? And these are the things that we can tell you. We have some starter kits We have a membership program starting, but I think the easiest way to get started is just to go to giftfromnorma.com. Join us any Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific time, no charge. Just listen. We talk about a dimension for a few minutes, and then we put you in small rooms, and you talk about that dimension and how it applies to your life. The one benefit you get is you have a lot of elders who have experienced a few dozen years of life, and they can give you advice. They can give you feedback. So you can share your stories, and you have time to do that. And you're going to get free coaching. You're going to get free information. You're going to get free advice from people who've been there. My youngest person that I have certified came out of grad school recently. I think she's about 25 now. So she's a Chinese student that came here from China after we met in China, has stayed here, has gotten married, and she has great advice because she just started her life in America. And so coming in with a fresh view and learning a new culture, as well as, becoming mature, and she just got married recently. So she's gone through all the experiences that you have when you're young and you're trying to adjust to it. So we're positioning her as a major coach for young people to help you just understand and help you get clarity. And those would be very, very well priced. And you just let me know that you're interested in that, and I can hook you up with that. Just go to the giftfromnorma.com, sign up for that, and show up. And then just say, Norma, I got to ask you something. And we can stay a little bit afterwards, or we'll set up a call or something. And I'll be happy to hook you up.
Well, we appreciate that information. Once again, we're talking to our guest today, Dr. Norma Hollis. You can go to her website, normahollis.com. And man, we can talk for another hour because, man, I feel like we just started like 2 minutes ago, but time flies by. So real quick, what's another reminder, call to action for our listeners before we let you go?
Well, I think I also want to invite you to take my authenticity assessment. This is a simple 9 questions that will give you a view of where you are with your authenticity. So that is at authenticityassessment.com. Authenticityassessment.com. That too is free. So just go there, take the assessment. You'll still get a reminder about the Gift from Norma and the Tuesday calls. You'll get more reminders about other programs that we offer, but you'll also get some immediate results that will let you know where you stand in this area of authenticity and what you need to do next. And what you need to do next is just hook up with us, and we'll point you in the right direction. We have a lot of free classes. We have some paid. We have a number of different programs. Anything to fit your budget, we can make it work.
Once again, I want to say thank you to our guest today, Dr. Norma Hollis, for taking time talking to us and sharing us everything about being authentic, because I think that is a very crucial part of success in life.
Yes, it is. Actually, if you do the research, it says self-awareness is the most important thing for students and for leaders and for human beings in general. So being your authentic self has so many dividends. Look it up. You'll find that's true.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the time too, Shemai.